Alright guys, so today we're going to be talking about my most anticipated games for holiday 2020. This is my list, and they're going to attempt to be in a certain order, but they could pretty much be jumbled around any way you want. So, obviously I had to put Avengers at the very first spot because it's already out, and I've already made a review on it, so go check that out. It'll be somewhere on the screen. And again, I'm not really gonna say much about it since it's already out, but that's the first one on the list, so let's move to the next one. So this, I guess, starts the official list, if that's what you want to call it, and this is obviously Hitman 3, and I put this in technically last place because, well, I like the Hitman games 1 and 2 that are out. I think it's way too soon. I think this game's gonna get delayed hard, like at least 6 months to a year. I think the time between even Hitman 1 and 2, but even more so 2 and 3, just was not enough to add significant differences to the games. And sure, 2 and 1, and they all play great, but the point of a sequel is to make it better and improve on things. So I think this is just too early, maybe another year or two, maybe even more, before we see this game would be the right time. That way we have, the use of the new consoles and all of that in order to kind of push the gameplay in new directions. But that's just my thoughts on Hitman 3. That's just a quick one, because that's not going to come out in January 2021. There's no way. But let's move on to some of the more positive ones on the list. Now, if you haven't figured it out by now, we're kind of working our way up from the negative to the more positive ones. And so, Mafia 1 Remastered, Definitive Edition, whatever you want to call it, kind of sits right on that edge for me, right? I have a very weird history with the Mafia franchise, right? Mafia 3 I actually really like, which is a minority opinion. And Mafia 2 I just think is okay, which again is a minority opinion. So I'm interested to see how Mafia 1 plays. Now, Mafia 2 I played recently. I made a video on it with all the bugs and all that crap, and that plays a large role into why I didn't like it. So everyone says that the story is really good, and that combined with the remaster and the graphics and hopefully new gameplay mechanics and God, not as many bugs as Mafia 2. Hopefully this one will be really good, and I'm hoping this one kind of surprises me. I'm hoping that when I make my best games of the year list, this is up there, but as of right now, it kind of just sits in the dead center for me. So next is one that I have absolutely no clue where to put on this list. I definitely think it needs to go below my top couple games I'm really excited about, but again, in this middle section where Mafia is, my problem and my conflict with Assassin's Creed Valhalla is it looks like a reskinned Odyssey, right? Origins kind of started on the RPG path and introduced us to it and kind of prepared you for the full-fledged RPG that Odyssey was going to be, and both those games worked really well. Odyssey more than Origins, but Origins still had things that were unique to itself. The problem with Valhalla, based off what we've seen, is that the game looks just like a reskin of Odyssey, but with Vikings, and I don't care about Vikings at all, right? So not only do they have to come up with a way to innovate the gameplay from Odyssey, because if it's a direct copy and paste, it will get stale, because I put so many hours in Odyssey, right? But they have to sell you on the time period, and Odyssey, of course, had to do that to a degree, but didn't have that much of a, I would say, task to sell their Sparta versus Athens setting, right? It was much more intriguing, at least in my opinion. There's people out there that like Vikings, and I've talked about this before in another video, like with most of these things, but that's just my opinion. I hope this game is great, I hope it's my new favorite Assassin's Creed, but as of right now, I'm kind of conflicted on where it's going to sit. So, the next one just hurts my head to think about, and it's Star Wars Squadrons, right? And on one hand, right, with Assassin's Creed and some of the other games talked about, I'm kind of just 50-50, just dead set in the middle, don't know how to feel. With this game, I am two complete polar opposites. One day, I think this is going to be the best game of 2020. It's going to be fantastic, amazing, the best flying fighter simulator, Star Wars sim that we've ever seen. And then the next day, I remember it's made by EA, and I just expect it to be absolute trash. And so, again, that's why this isn't higher up, because this has potential to be really good, especially if they don't ruin the story like they did with Battlefront 2. You're starting out as the bad guys again and going back and forth between the bad and the good and seeing both sides of it, and they could do something interesting with that. The more tactical ship combat, focusing on that, could actually implement skill into the gameplay and all types of different classes to learn, and as long as they play unique and different, it could be really good. But on the other side, right, there's the customization that I've seen that I have problems with. And, you know, I'm one of those people that, oh, well, I'm not going to use a gold, pilot, because that just looks dumb, right? But that's not my big problem. My big problem is they talk about customization and progression. You see all those videos, if you follow this game, talking about how much customization there is and how much each ship has all these upgrades and things to unlock. But my problem with that is even something that EA tries to sell to you is that, just as a base, they say that there's 8 different ships in this game, but there's not. There's 4. There's attack, bomber, support, and whatever the other one is, interceptor, I think. And there's just the Empire and the Republic, or whatever they're called in this game. And the problem with that is they try to sell it as 8 different ships, but it's just 4 classes with different skins on them, essentially. And that's just one of the problems. If the game has 40,000 skins, that's great and all, but if they don't look cool or they're not worth getting, what do I care? If the upgrades and the progression, if there's nothing notable to unlock, I'm not going to care to unlock it. And how long, with this being heavily focused in multiplayer, is that actually going to last? And the final kind of thing that makes me worry about this game is the price mark of $40, right? Especially with EA. A $40 game with a single player and a multiplayer, and it's an EA game, kind of worries me. I think the campaign's just going to be an overglorified tutorial, more so than usual, and the multiplayer with little modes that it has at launch, no plans for future content. I think this is going to be one that is either going to do really well or absolutely flop. I don't think there's going to be an in-between on this game, but we'll have to see for that. So, Call of Duty this year is messing with my favorite franchise in Call of Duty, which of course is Black Ops, right? I absolutely love Black Ops 1 and 2. 3 kind of sucks, and 4 kind of sucks, but 1 and 2 are absolutely great. And so they have a huge opportunity here, right, to either add to my favorite franchise ever, or, like they did in Black Ops 3, make it terrible and ruin it. But the problem with this that I'm even more worried about, right, is Black Ops 3, they at least didn't carry over characters. That was a problem. But with the screw up of the campaign not being great, it wasn't affecting any of the characters that I liked. Here, they mess something up with a character that I like, there's going to be a big problem. There'll be a rant in the review. But more so, just the multiplayer looks fine. It's more the campaign that I'm really excited about for this game. And zombies will be zombies, and multiplayer looks like regular Call of Duty multiplayer, but it's really the campaign that I am really excited for. I think they kind of got to chill out with all the trailers and gameplay they're showing. Do a launch trailer in November and we're good to go. You got 4 betas planned. It's enough. You don't need to show us the whole game. And honestly, it's just as simple as that, right? I'm buying this game for the campaign. If the campaign's great, I'll be happy. That's all that matters to me with this game. And they might do something interesting with the battlefield, looks like Battlefield, with the multiplayer, with all these vehicles. but we'll have to see and wait for that. But honestly, I know this is a game that it's Call of Duty, so it's going to sell well, it's going to do well, but the actual quality of the content, we will wait to see. So, some people are going to be mad about me putting this in second, but everyone knew this was on the list. So, let's talk about Cyberpunk for a little bit, because this video is getting long. Originally, I was really excited about this game, and I still am really excited about this game. But I started to think about it, and there's so much they could screw up here. They've hyped this game up so much with all the delays. I mean, it would be out already if it weren't for delays. And it's just, there's so much riding on this game. It's in the same scenario the new Elder Scrolls and the new GTA 6, all these big games are going to be in, where even the new Spider-Man to an extent, people have been waiting for them. You know, the reception around it is generally really good. And so if they screw up, even if in Cyberpunk in these games' case, if the game is just good, you know, if it's not great, the best game on the new consoles, if this isn't the best thing we've seen, you know, in years, then I think this game is going to get an absolute beating. But so far from everything I've seen, it looks great, has a lot to live up to, and I'm going to talk about comparing it with The Witcher in video a little bit closer to launch, so watch out for that one. But with this game, I honestly think it has the potential to do everything it needs to do as far as world building and character and the actual gameplay itself. It's just some of the other elements that I'm worried about, particularly the multiplayer and how that's going to play in. You know, I would rather honestly not be a multiplayer. If I could be honest, just focus on your single player, but if the multiplayer's there and it's great, then that'll just add to it, right? But my number one thing with this game is going to be the replayability, right? They've shown trailers where you have different paths you can go down, your decisions matter like many other RPG games, and again, like Witcher, that's the whole focus of the video later. But the whole value, for me anyways, is going to be playing this again as those three different styles and seeing how they play out and how they play differently. And again, even within those three styles, the different gameplay styles of stealth or just slaughtering everybody. And I think, again, this is either going to be the greatest game we've seen in a very long time, or it is going to be a very big flop. And let's hope it's the first one. But speaking of the first one, let's move on to my most anticipated game for 2020. And I know I got you on the edge because you're wondering what the heck's going to be above this, and you're going to be pretty upset with what I picked. So just get ready. So, Watch Dogs Legion has had a very interesting history with me, I guess you could say, or just Watch Dogs in general. I've made 2 videos on Watch Dogs talking about my love for Watch Dogs 1 and my hate for Watch Dogs 2. And my thing with Watch Dogs Legion is the initial idea when they first presented it of being able to take over any character and doing anything with them. I absolutely hate it. I thought it was the stupidest idea ever, right? That means you can't have a centralized main character, and you know, there's just not as much character development and story as you have with a main character, and you see this in all types of games where you make your own character and there's just not as much development because it's not a scripted character. And so I thought this was dumb, but then after seeing gameplay of it and them showing more and more, right, it looks really cool if it does what they say it does, right? If each character is unique and has a certain playstyle to them, and you go and you recruit these random people, and oh, this person is good at this and this person's good at this, and you can tackle each mission differently, that'll make gameplay really fun and diverse, and the replayability value will be way up. But what's going to matter, not only obviously gameplay and the way the hacking works and all of that, but the repeatability, I guess you could say, of those people you can recruit. They show off the grandma a lot as one of the characters, so that's who we'll decide to go with, or the construction worker, just as an example, right? How many construction workers are you going to see playing? Is it you walk down the street, going to a mission and you see 6 construction workers that you could have recruited? Or are there so many diverse character types that you can constantly be getting new and different people throughout the whole game? And I think, again, if they pull it off, that it'll be great, it'll be really fun. But again, I don't know how that's going to play into the story, and honestly, I don't even know how they're going to attempt to pull that off. But I want to close out the video with saying that while I talked about mostly negative things for a large majority of these games, that's for a reason, because you've heard all of the positive things, right? And not only from other YouTubers, but from the companies themselves. They're not going to tell you all these negatives. And so I wanted to focus on why certain games were lower than others, and that's just because of the concerns I have for them, rather than talking about the stuff you already know about all of these games. So you let me know if you would rearrange this list, if you would take games off this list, if you would put different games on the list, if you have your own list, put it in the comments, and let me know what you guys think of the video overall. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you on the next one.